Some of you might remember the video I posted a little bit ago about where I was asking like how to go girl mode for relatives that I haven't seen for ages because they don't know I'm trans. Let me tell you the whole story. Genuinely, when I was posting that video, I was like panicking. I was like, shit, how do I like 3 years on testosterone? How am I gonna look and sound like a girl? Help. Because I was just convinced by my mom that every relative of mine would be like transphobic, so I was like, oh shit, if they don't know, I gotta pretend to be a girl somehow. Basically, my boyfriend and I, we went on a trip to China, because he really wanted to see China. For this trip, I told my immediate family that I was going, but I didn't tell any of my relatives, right? So basically, my mom keeps my transition and my life now like completely separate from the family, like nobody knows what I'm doing, like, or whatever. So literally none of them knew I was coming to China. Let me tell you just that my mom, she's like, how do I say this? She thinks everybody is like as transphobic as she is. But anyways, I knew that my great aunt, so my grandma's little sister, she knows that I'm trans. And she's kind of just like, oh, whatever, it is what it is. Like, I love this lady, like, she is so funny, she is very caring. And she told her husband about it, like, without my knowledge, and he said this to me over, like, video chat while I was in China. He was just like, oh, you should live your life, whatever. So he's my great uncle, right? So I was like, oh, amazing, this is great that you guys are accepting, let's hang out and meet up. And so we meet up, we have a great time, and then my great aunt, she's like, oh, let's go back to my apartment, so I can show you around and stuff. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Also, my great uncle is a little bit eccentric. He has like a snapping turtle that he got when it was a little, so he didn't actually realize it was gonna be that massive. And now it's a snapping turtle. So we go on over. She was like, oh, actually, I'm taking care of, I don't know how to call this, but like, you know how like Asian people, like we sort of make up like names in the family. Anyways, he's actually her sister's husband, but her sister's passed now, so she's taking care of him, and he lives really like basically right next to her. So she was like, let's go visit him. And then I was like, are you sure he knows that I'm trans? And she gave me an answer that made me think that she did not tell him. She's like, it'll be fine, who cares, let's just go. Says she told like all of the old people in the family like that I'm trans. Because she didn't tell the younger ones because then they'll tell everyone or whatever, but I feel like she is the most gossipy one, so yeah. Anyways, so we go over and he's a little bit quiet, right? But that could just be because he had a stroke like 10 days before that. He was actually really nice. So we just hung out, didn't do much. We just chatted about like how life was. So we go over to her house. My great uncle went to pick up like their grandson, who I knew when he was like 2. And I'm pretty sure he understands to some extent that I'm trans, because in all the pictures and stuff, I was still a girl, right? But he didn't really ask any questions about it. He just wanted to like hang out with us and also buy blind boxes, and I was like, oh, okay, cool, whatever. It's a cool little dude. He's like 11. And then we meet, I call him my uncle, but he's not really my uncle. He's my great aunt's son, right? So, he opens the door, and then my great aunt clearly did not prepare him for this. My heart was racing for like hours, like before he arrived home, because I didn't know how he was going to handle the news, because I was really close to him when I was younger. And after I opened my mouth to speak, he made this like really funny face. He was like, eh? Like, he made the funniest sound ever. But then we just like chatted and we acted like nothing happened. And we went out for dinner. After we had dinner, my boyfriend was like, oh, I gotta go to the bathroom. And my little cousin was like, oh, I know where the bathroom is. So he takes him to the bathroom. And then so I'm alone with my uncle. And then so I asked him, I basically went to him like, and I was like, oh, so I'm trans. And he was like, oh, I figured. So this whole time he knew, and he just like doesn't. This whole time he knew, and he just doesn't even care. And my mum was making a big deal out of like nothing. And I think it's actually so funny that my mum doesn't even know that like we had this interaction. And anyways, yeah, so it turns out a portion of my family in China is actually quite accepting of trans people. So, well, at least they're like, oh, I don't even care. So yeah, very good.